Hey there, the perfect tutor here, Mr. Gilbert CJ. Okay, so in this video, we are going to look at corruption part 2. The subtopics that we are going to concentrate on are the impact of corruption on the Zambian society, government institutions involved in the fight against corruption, and the civil society organizations involved in the fight against corruption. Okay, let's start. The impact of corruption on the Zambian society. We are saying corruption scourge has had a negative impact on the Zambian society. Always a what? A negative impact. So corruption will never give us a positive effect. It always gives us negative impact. High levels of corruption inflate prices of goods and services. Inflate. The prices are rapidly increased. They fluctuate. The prices of goods and services. This has brought untold misery to many people, particularly the poor. So poor people are experiencing challenges in lives because prices of goods and services have been inflated by by people with higher profiles in government or higher profiles in society who are practicing corruption, and they are leading to this. So these people are suffering. Now we've got affected areas on corruption. There are the areas which are affected. The first one is the law enforcement agencies. The law enforcement agencies. We are saying police have sometimes failed to maintain law and order because of corruption. This one is very simple. Person must be jailed, but because of corruption, the police will not jail. Or if they are supposed to apprehend a person or to arrest, if they engage themselves in corruption, a person can just give them money, then they cannot apprehend or arrest him or her. So the police may not maintain law and order when they practice corruption. Very good. The judicial system. When we talk of the judicial system, we simply talk about the courts. The courts. So corrupt practices prevent justice. Case records disappear, trials are delayed, and the outcome of cases no longer depends on the sufficiency of the evidence available. The court delays in judging or in passing judgment over the matters, even if evidence may be available. But just because they have been corrupted, they have been bribed by the by the people, by the offenders, they cannot pass fair judgment. Corruption. Electoral process. The electoral process is affected as well. Leaders in the political parties who do not deserve to win the elections may come into power because they dish out money and materials. This is what we said it's called political corruption in the previous video. Political corruption. So instead of choosing or selecting a leader who is qualified to occupy the position or to come into power, someone who is not even qualified will use corruption, corrupt the people, bribe them, and then he or she will win the elections and come into power. We are demoralizing the standards of our country. That's continuation. We continue looking at the affected areas. The affected areas. The other one is the security of the nation. Security of the nation is highly affected. What do we mean? Corruption at immigration offices may allow criminals to enter the nation. May allow criminals to enter the nation. People will just be, or the officers there at the immigration offices will be bribed by the criminals, and then they will be allowed to enter the country, and then will suffer consequences. The economy. There are money laundering activities, tax evasion, and other economic issues which lead to economic instability. The economic issues which lead to economic instability. Our economy is affected because of this money laundering, the tax evasion. People are not paying tax. People are bribing so as to obtain goods and services. Our economy is being affected. Education system. Standards are distorted here because people are not selected on merit. Bribes are paid in whatever form, whether money in cash, valuable goods, rendering services, by candidates to be admitted into a learning institutions instead of being admitted on merit. Here comes someone with 6 points, goes to UNZA, apply for admission, not accepted. A person with 28 points goes there with 20 pin, 20,000 kwacha, gives the officers there. Within seconds, admitted. You see? So that's what we are calling the education system is being affected as well. We're affecting our education system because of what? Corruption. Administration of land matters. Land has usually been unfairly distributed, especially by the Ministry of Lands and council officials, because they have been bribed. They give plots to whatever people who bribes them. So as a result, unplanned or prohibited settlements are a common sight in most urban areas in Zambia. You are finding that where there should be a market, there are houses. Where there should be the town planning is not well because of corruption. Corruption is bad. Government purchases. Tender procedures may sometimes not be followed when awarding contracts. Let's talk about this one. Awarding contracts. The government wants to construct a road. Instead of giving that contract to qualified individuals, to qualified candidates, someone will just come and bribe them. No, I'll give you 10,000. They bribe and then they'll be awarded that contract. In the actual sense, that person is not even qualified to do the job. That's why we are finding that they are constructing damageable roads. These roads which are just, they don't last long. These roads which are being constructed, they don't last long because they are being constructed by people who are not qualified. Qualified people are left out because of what? Corruption. Okay, those are some of the areas which are affected by corruption. Now, how can we fight corruption? So, we have institutions involved in the fight against corruption. I've got some of the institutions involved in the fight against corruption. What is the first one? So, the main institutions which fights against corruption is the Anti-Corruption Commission, just from the word itself, Anti-Corruption Commission, ACC. The Anti-Corruption Commission is the official institution established by the government to fight corruption. It's the one that has the main role of fighting corruption. It's the Anti-Corruption Commission. It was established in 1980 and became operational in 1982. The ACC is an autonomous body. Before I talk about this, wait, memorize these years here. They may ask you, when was the Anti-Corruption Commission established? 1980. And when did it come? When did it become operational? It's 1982. You should know that. You should be remembering that. Now, we are saying the ACC is an autonomous body. A very strange word here. Autonomous body. What do we mean when we say autonomous body? This means it's self-governing. No one controls it. Because if it was to be controlled by someone, then Those people won't be investigated when they practice what? Corruption. So the SEC is self-governing. It controls itself. So that even if the government is practicing corruption, it will investigate without fail. So the Anti-Corruption Commission uses the following methods in its fight against corruption. So it has got three methods that it uses to fight against the corruption. It uses three methods to fight against the corruption. The first one is the prevention. Then community education. Lastly, investigation and the prosecution. Let us talk about them one by one. We start with the prevention, how it operates now. The prevention. We are saying the commission examines practices and procedures in private and public sectors to facilitate the discovery of corrupt practices. It also ensures that any work, methods, or procedures prone to corruption are revised. It's like it's trying to prevent what? Corruption. So it will be investigating, to be trying to examine the practices, what people are doing, the government bodies, the procedures. For example, when the government is procuring something, the Anti-Corruption Commission, when they under the prevention department, they will try to examine that procedure. In private, that means it can be personal, or in public, or for the government, to facilitate the discovery of corrupt practices. They want to discover if there is any corrupt practice there. And ensures that if there is any work or method or procedure prone to corruption, then it should be revised. So the Corruption Prevention Department, the CPD, conducts managerial accountability workshops in both public and private institutions. They are trying to examine the practices. Now, what people are doing. For example, someone buys a very expensive vehicle. The Anti-Corruption Commission will examine, where did you get the money for you to buy that vehicle? Then if they find that there is any corrupt practice, they will revise, they will start investigating. We have community education. So the Community Relations Department is responsible for educating. This one is responsible for preventing. This one is responsible for educating the community on matters relating to corruption. In this way, the department reviews evils and dangerous effects of corrupt practices on society. So this department is responsible for actually educating the community or the society on the evils and dangerous effects of what? Corruption, so that we refrain from doing or engaging ourselves in corrupt practices. The last one is the investigation and prosecution. The commission receives and investigates complaints of suspected corrupt practices, and where evidence is established, prosecution follows. It receives and investigates the complaints. So it will receive, okay, Mr. Gilbert has bought a very expensive vehicle. We are suspecting that he may have committed or he may have engaged himself in some of the corrupt practices. The Anti-Corruption Commission will investigate that complaint now of suspected. You are suspecting as citizens. The Anti-Corruption will actually investigate. If evidence is established, they will prosecute. They will follow you. They even grab things. That's how it is. So these are the three methods which the Anti-Corruption Commission uses when it is fighting against what? Corruption. These are the three methods the Anti-Corruption Commission uses when it's fighting against what? Corruption. Three. So they may ask you. Now, It has got a slogan which promotes integrity, accountability, and transparency. This one. Say no to corruption. This is the slogan of the what? The Anti-Corruption Commission. Apart from the Anti-Corruption Commission, we have other government institutions involved in the fight against corruption. What are those? The first one is the Zambia Public Procurement Authority, ZPPA. It was established in 1983 as Zambia National Tender Board. Sometimes they ask, what's the other name for Zambia Public Procurement Authority? It's the Zambia National Tender Board. What's the function of this one? It ensures transparency and accountability in the procurement of goods and services by the what? By the government. Whenever the government is buying goods or services, this body or this institution is there to investigate or to ensure that there is transparency. The government follows the right procedure and provides checks and balances to people or to the residents or to the citizens. The next one is Parliament. Parliament also fights against corruption. How? It provides checks and balances. How was the money used? Provides checks and balances. Then ensures that government funds are used for intended purposes. That's Parliament. Then it refuses to endorse any appointment of corrupt practices. That's about the Parliament. Then we also have the Auditor General's Office. The Auditor General's Office. The office is charged with the responsibility of ensuring that public funds allocated to Parliament are expended for their intended purpose. The Auditor General's Office audits accounts relating to the general revenue of the Republic. Audits, it's like to review or to go through or to provide checks and balances. It is trying to investigate how the funds which were allocated to Parliament have been expended. It ensures that they are expended for the what? Intended purpose. Auditor General's Office. The next one is the Investigator General's Office. This one only audits. This one investigates. So here, the Investigator General's Office is also known as what? The Ombudsman. This question may come in the exam. Investigator General Office is also known as Ombudsman. He is the head of the Commission for Investigations. Head of all the investigations. The Investigator General works with a team of officers who carry out investigation on complaints about corruption. So he has got a team that helps him to investigate. After investigation is complete, the Investigator General advises the police or the court on the action to take. So this one has got a very important role of investigating. And then after he finds that there is a corrupt practice somewhere here, he will advise the police or the court on the way to go, on the action to take. Or do this person is corrupt, do this. That's the Investigator General. So don't confuse the two. Auditor General audits. This one investigates. The Anti-Money Laundering Unit. This is under the Department of Drug Enforcement Commission. It was established in 2001 to monitor and investigate money laundering activities in Zambia. Now, what is money laundering? It's the act of receiving, possessing, concealing, disguising, disposing of, or bringing into the country any property money, inclusive, derived or realized directly or indirectly from illegal criminal activities. Even if you have the money, as long as you realized it or you caught it from or you earned it from illegal or criminal activities, that is money laundering. So now we've got this unit here, the anti-money laundering. it also fights against this, thereby fighting against what? Corruption. The Zambia police. The Zambia police have been charged with a very important role to fight against what? Corruption. They investigate and arrest people involved in corruption. These are very common, we'll see them. Okay, so those are the government institutions we've been talking about. Those are the government institutions. These, the ones we're going to talk about now, are the civil society. Civil society organization is non-governmental. It's just formed by individuals. It's non-governmental. So we've talked about the government institutions. This one, now we're going to talk about civil society organizations involved in the fight against corruption. The first one is the FODEP, the Foundation for Democratic Process. FODEP, FDP, Foundation for Democratic Process. It encourages the public to be involved in the fight against corruption, the Foundation for Democratic Process. Then, apart from that one, we have the Transparency International Zambia, the TIZ. The TIZ. It educates the public on political corruption. Then, it researches vulnerable aspects of corruption. That's the Transparency International Zambia. The last one, but not the least, is the National Movement Against Corruption, NAMAC. The movement has embarked on a wide campaign for the eradication, same as elimination of corruption in Zambia, getting rid here. It demands high levels of integrity, transparency, and accountability, and seeks genuine participation in the affairs of our nation. This is the National Movement Against Corruption. So, do not be confused, my students. When they ask you, mention 3 government institutions involved in the fight against corruption, you list those. Anti-Corruption Commission, Zambia Police Service, those that we've been talking about. Sir. Now, when they say mention 2 or 1 civil society organization involved in the fight against corruption, here are the answers. This one, this one, this one. Done. There are others that we've not talked about here. So these are the ones for now that we can talk about.